So, ladies and gentlemen in Revolution Land, here with Carlo Rosillo, CEO of Bell & Ross, and good friend of ours, great collaborator of ours as well. We're now in kind of the end of June, beginning of July, and we'll be coming out with a collaboration between Bell & Ross and Revolution and the Rake as well, a watch that is inspired by one of the most legendary cocktails, and maybe a reminder to us to, the carpe diem, to seize the day, to enjoy life to its fullest extent. But before we get to that, I would first like to say, Carlos, how are you, sir?
I feel good here in the countryside, and I'm happy to be able to speak with my friends like you and to still share the passion that we have.
Wonderful. So it's summertime. A lot of people are going to be heading towards the beach and to the ocean and to participate in one of their favorite activities, diving. And you have come up with a really cool new diving watch on the BR03 Diver, which is incidentally one of the models that I like best because it's so tactile and logical to have this square case and then this round bezel on it, because it's so easy to manipulate, because you can immediately tell the difference between where the case ends and where the bezel begins. And it's such a big, robust bezel that even if you're wearing gloves or, it's very easy to manipulate. And the presence on the wrist, is just phenomenal. So let's talk a little bit about this watch, but it's a watch that's interesting because it is fully luminous. And when I say fully luminous, I mean the dial, I mean the indexes, I mean the hands, I mean the bezel. It's great. Tell us a little bit about this.
Okay, just to go back a little bit, this luminescence comes from, we're using two types of superluminova, C3 and C5, and here you see that the indexes have a high luminescence. It's the C3 that we're using, and the dial background is the C5, which gives another perspective. It's another dimension in this superluminescence. So you have this difference between the C3 and the C5 that gives a kind of perspective in the luminescence, and this brightness, this way to glow in the dark, I think is really appealing. Also, what has to be stand out in this watch is that there are many diver watches, of course, because it's a segment that is very important in the watch industry. But I think that why we have been very successful with the diving collection, because it's the only, as far as I know, the only real diving watch that is square. I don't know any other square diving watch. It's a total real, according to the ISO norm, it's a diving watch corresponding to all the specification of ISO, not only by the brightness, by the readability, by the water resistant with 300 meters, by the characteristics of the glass, of the scroll, but here you have a diving watch that is corresponding to our icon, which is square. And this was quite a challenge. And now we have a whole collection with the diving. We have introduced 3 years ago this 03 Diver collection. First, it was there was just one. It was just one item, and now it's a whole collection. Here with the Diver Lume, it's really a striking one, because this luminescence, whether it's during day or night, gives a special perspective. But today we have a full range with the diving collection that makes that you have a choice between the steel models, between the ceramic one, between the bronze, between now this full lume. And the full lume concept, in fact, is something that is very transversal, because, as you know, with Bell & Ross, we are able to go in different aspects of the heroes, whether it is aviation, whether it is diving, whether it is Formula One, and now even with urban explorer with the 05. But the lume concept that we have been insisting since day one, today, with the possibilities of the technique and with the C3, the C5, this Superluminova. We are using it in the O3, of course, in the Icon. We are using it, of course, also in the Vintage collection. We are using it in the O5. And here, of course, in the diving, it's so important because when you are doing deep sea missions, you need to have a high luminescent watch. And this was the reason when I think it was an important one to have this Diver Full Lume.
Well, I love that. I love exactly what you're saying. And having done a little bit of diving as well, it's true that actually it's so important that your indications or your prime indications are luminous. What's interesting is that a lot of people do the seconds, hour, and minute hands, obviously luminous, the index is luminous, and they'll do maybe a pearl where, for the zero of your bezel, but not that many people do luminous bezels as well. I think it's Tudor and Blancpain, obviously, but not that many more. And I love the fact that you've done a luminous bezel here as well. But I really dig the fact that you've taken kind of a Superluminova and made it its own design language. I love the fact that you've used two contrasting Superluminovas, C3 and C5. So C3 is the whiter and more bright one, if I'm not mistaken, and that's the one that you
Absolutely.
see on the applied indexes, on the hands, on the second hands, and I think also on the bezel. And then for the base of your dial, you've used C5, which is a little bit more green, doesn't glow quite as intensely. And so even when you see it in the dark, you see like these two beautiful contrasting almost tones of Superluminova. And Carlos, can I ask, I know the case is ceramic, is the bezel also ceramic?
Yes. The whole watch is made in ceramic. The whole case is in ceramic, including the bezel. So it was very important to be shock resistant, scratch resistant, and today the ceramic gives this opportunity, especially for diving conditions.
Amazing. So I think that's actually the second watch brand that's ever had a ceramic bezel that's had luminous markers inside of the bezel. So that's another really great achievement and a great sort of added practicality. However, what I also love about this watch is even when you're not wearing it on a dive, it's incredibly distinct because this is what you get when you walk into a nightclub as well. I would say. So it's funny when you're like at a bar and you see some guy, with his watch just glowing like crazy.
On road, off road. I think the other day I was looking to a conversation that was very interesting between two different users of Bell & Ross, two passionates, and one was really off road. He was the guy going with his Defender. And it was really off-road. And the other guy, he liked the urban style, the city style. And they were talking together, and we could see that there was a common style, a common passion, whether it is from the city, whether it is from the countryside, whether it is from an inspiration that is very heroic, or whether it is something more stylish. And I think it's interesting to have this conversation and to see that you can share the same values in different environments. And this is one of the aspects that Bell & Ross can embrace.
Really cool. Absolutely love that. So, Carlos, I would love to thank you very much for spending time with us, and I hope to see us together at the launch of our special watch, drinking a certain drink and enjoying summer.
Always a pleasure to speak with you, Wei. Always a pleasure. Thank you.
Take care, my friend.